our purpose here at Unity of Tucson is to provide a safe, loving, and inclusive space where people can explore the principles of the New Thought spiritual philosophy, which is what we teach here. And through those principles, I believe, you get to decide what you believe, I'll talk about that in a minute, but I believe that we can master spiritual understanding, find personal purpose, and develop a spiritual path. So, you may not believe everything you hear today, and that's actually a good thing, except Laura, she believes everything that I say. Yeah, but you may not believe everything I say today. You may not believe everything you hear today, and that's a good thing, because I think that skepticism is a path to enlightenment, and as we are enlightening ourselves, it is a call to each and every one of us to question everything. And so if something butts up against your belief system here today, my encouragement to you is to just be willing to notice it, to just be willing to notice something that perhaps rubs you in a way that is a little uncomfortable, and open yourself up to this idea. Is what I'm hearing more resonant to love, light, life, peace, power, beauty, joy, and harmony in my life, or is what I currently believe in alignment with those things? And you get to decide the answer to that. I'm not here to tell you what to think. So let's celebrate that today. Now, we have a vision and a mission here at Unity of Tucson, and I would love for us to share together first, out loud, let's say this together, our vision statement. We envision a world awakened to its magnificence. And the vision is the manner in which we may choose to see the world, and the mission are steps that we can actively take to allow that vision to come into expression. So let us state together these words of our mission statement. Love only, forgive everything, remember who you are. I invite you to take a breath. Just take in that statement. Love only, forgive everything, remember who you are. The mission statement became quite a talking point in our Saturday morning class yesterday, especially that second aspect, forgive everything. Because for many people, that can feel like a challenge. It can feel like a challenge. What I have found is that the path of forgiveness has opened me up to greater spiritual mastery. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate spiritual master, but I'm working on it every day, every single day. I got a lot that is on my mind and on my heart this day, and I'm going to say this is... I'm considering how I choose to formulate this next statement. The statement is this: a lot of ministers are challenged today without knowing what to say in a spiritual community where we espouse particular values that seemed to be challenged this past week. And I don't want to kind of go into the whole, like, what happened, I don't want to go into all of that. That's not my place. That is not my place at all. What I am here to do is to remind us all of the truth of our being to such a degree that irrespective of the circumstances we find ourselves immersed in, we know that at the core of who we are in this world and the way we may choose to express in this world, there is one value that rises above all others, and for me, that value is love. This week, I chose to call this talk Release the Bounds. Release the bounds of considering that anything out there has any effect on our lives. To release once and for all from our own consciousness the idea that we are limited in any way by anything. Whether we agree with the outcome of an election or we don't agree with the outcome of an election, no matter what, those outcomes have no bearing on who we are in this world. And so there's a quote that really rang very strongly for me this week. It's a Rumi quote. Rumi offered this: "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself." In the song, there's a reference to playing by the rules of someone else's game. We are not relegated to play anyone else's game as long as we recognize that within our minds, within our hearts, we have the capacity to change ourselves. So today is an opportunity to reflect and move beyond the concepts of the spiritual philosophy that we teach, to move beyond the theory of the spiritual philosophy that we teach, and step into the practice in actuality of the spiritual philosophy that we teach. So here's my question that I begin with today. Will external change bring fulfillment? No. No. The only thing that can bring a sense of fulfillment to any single one of us is an internal change. When we change our minds, we change our life. That is a fundamental premise of this philosophy. Change your thinking, change your life. That's how it all started, right? And we've grown, we've evolved in that idea, and it's beyond thinking because the thoughts that we can articulate and consider, they are the outflow of a belief system. And so I don't even think it's change your thoughts, change your thinking. I don't think it's change your thinking, change your life, because thinking is a byproduct. It's change your beliefs, change your life. Now, I say every week, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to offer considerations. I'm here to offer tenets of a spiritual philosophy that I frankly have found works for me. You get to decide what works for you. When we change ourselves, when we change fundamentally the ideas that we have adopted as beliefs, when we change those, we may find ourselves transforming our world personally and the world at large, because the world always conforms itself to our inner concept of self. I'm going to say that again, if I remember exactly how I phrased it. Our world, the experience of our world, transforms naturally to match the inner concept we have. And so who will you choose to be today? How will you choose to move forward today? Because that's the only thing we're ever doing. The past is in the past. The past is in the past. Now we get to make decisions about how we proceed. That is true responsibility. By releasing the internal bounds that limit our thinking, our behaviors, and our capacity to love, we, each and every one of us, can create profound change, both in our own lives and in the world. That's what we are called. That's what I think I was called here to do. It's a challenge because I thought I was called here for something else originally, and that was to be an artist. And I am still an artist. That hasn't changed. The art expresses itself differently now, and I reflect upon Defying Gravity, a song that came into the sphere of my awareness in around 2003. That's when Wicked, the musical, premiered on Broadway. And I can't tell you how many times I auditioned for that musical and never even got a call back. I tried. I don't know. You auditioned too? You are ideal to play Elphaba. And what a gift you are, and such a gift to this community. Thank you. We can create profound change in ourselves and in our world. And when I realized that my calling was to speak spiritual truth as I understand it and to speak it publicly, that changed everything for me. That changed everything for me. Last week, I spoke at length about compassion. And when I talk about unbounded love, that's what I'm talking about. Compassion for me is defined as unbounded love. Love beyond bounds, love beyond limited ideas, love beyond circumstance. I think that compassion is the truest healing consciousness. That it is the truest healing consciousness. And so as we proceed in our lives, rooted in the consciousness of love, then what we are, each and every one of us, doing is revealing the divine essence at our core and sharing that with the world. You know, I often refer to the healing candle. because it's a moment that is very important to me. I spoke yesterday in class about how the peace candle is really important to me. I'm going to talk a little bit today about how the healing candle and the idea around the healing candle is so important to me, because we teach healing not as physical cure, although that may be the outcome of a healed consciousness. The way we teach healing within this philosophy is that healing is the revealing of the love at the core of all expression, the underlying core. And as we allow ourselves to be guided in and led by love, by unbounded love, as we allow ourselves to be led by compassion, then we are changing the world right where each and every one of us is. Because here's the thing about being that in the world. I'm not talking about doing this. I'm talking about allowing 100% of our beingness to be compassion. In expression in the world, the beingness leads to the doingness in our world. And as we allow ourselves to do that, well then, as I like to joke sometimes, people around us will have a when Harry met Sally moment. I'll have what they're having. That is how we become change makers and peacemakers in this world, by being the peace first and foremost, not trying to coerce peace into happening, by being the love, not trying to coerce love, by being the presence, because we are, each and every one of us, the presence of the divine. More and more and more, I am realizing in my own life that activating my understanding of being the God essence, the God expression, that being that, which is what Jesus was here to teach. He taught the Father and I are one. And like I always say, he was not separating himself. He was saying, this is my understanding, and this is what I believe to be true of you as well. There can be no separation from the divine. Because if there is separation from the divine, then the divine is limited. Is the divine limited? No, it is unlimited, it is infinite, and we are part of the infinite nature of the divine. So we are, each and every one of us, facets of love, because that, for me, is what God is. God is love. That's what the mystics of the ages have been teaching us. God is love, the expression of love, the energy of creation, which is love. That's how we teach love. And so when I talk about allowing ourselves to be in that compassionate frame of heart, a compassionate frame of heart, what I'm talking about is an idea that we can be for something and against nothing. We can be for something and against nothing. And when I thought about that today, in preparation for this message, I thought, well, that might be a tall order for some people. But this is what we are called to do. Ernest Holmes, in his final sermon by the sea, invited us into this very idea. He said these words in 1959, "Find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of his soul, and I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being. Who will you choose to be today?" Who will you choose to be today? Love is the strongest power for healing and harmony, provided that love is unbound, unconditional, unlimited. We're the ones who bind it up. I said it last week. We're the ones who bind up the energy of love to think it has to be something when it is all possibility, all potential. And I'm choosing today to continue to shed the notion in any way that there are any conditions that I place upon my loving presence in this world. We are, each and every one of us, a healing point for this world. We are a point of healing for this world. And we do not heal through force or through blame or through accusation. We cannot heal from that frame of mind, but through a consciousness of compassion. And so as we experience ourselves in community, we're going to find people who agree with us and we're going to find people who disagree with us. Can we move forward from the state of mind and a state of heart of compassion, irrespective of our differences? It's up to you. Because here's the thing, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I can't force you into doing anything. I can't force you into being anything. All I can do is offer the spiritual truth that I know. Now, there's an aspect of this that I don't often address on a Sunday. And it's because we get into these notions of speaking about the philosophy in ways that can be confusing to people. I always say, and I said this in class yesterday, I said, Sundays are great. Sundays I intend to be inspirational, not educational. Although there's some education that goes along with Sundays, but if you really want to get to the core of this philosophy and put it to use in your life, the place to really go on that journey is in class situations. That's my only pitch for the classes today. But one of the things that got brought up quite a bit yesterday in class, and it's actually going to be a primary subject of the class that I teach on Monday nights, is what I'm going to call group thought. Group thought. There is a jargon term that gets misconstrued and misunderstood that is all throughout the literature of the New Thought movement, and I'm not going to use that term. I'm just going to continue to call it group thought. We have a group thought. We have a group consciousness that exists within these walls right now. We are immersed in an energy of thought, and we all have a way of contributing to that thought, right? Now, not all of us are having the same thought, but we're immersed in an energy of thought. And as we are looking at the balance of thought that exists in this room, there's going to be consistencies and inconsistencies. And the more weighted the consistencies are, the more the tendency in the room and in our acceptance of that group thought is put into practice in our lives. Everybody's like, what the heck is he talking about? Everywhere we go, we are experiencing and living in the influence of group consciousness or group thought. Everywhere we go. The groups that exist that define that consciousness or that thought can be defined in many different ways. So we have a group consciousness within this room. There's a group thought or a group consciousness within the foothills. There is a group consciousness or a group thought that exists within Tucson. There is a group thought or a group consciousness that exists within Arizona, within the nation, within the world. And every single one of us is living under the influence of that group consciousness. And we are immersed, I think many of us, in a sea of fears that exist dominantly in that group consciousness right now. We are immersed in a sea of judgments. We are immersed in a sea of limiting beliefs. And these all are active below the level of our awareness. And being active below the level of our awareness, we may accept these consciousnesses. We may accept this consciousness, and it becomes the outflow of our expression. We are not relegated to accept it. It may shape our perception of the world and our belief in what is possible. And if we are not vigilant, we become bound by these ideas in the group thought, in the group consciousness. And they begin to dictate our responses, and they begin to limit our lives. I choose something else. I choose something else because we are, each and every one of us, as expressions of this infinite divine wholeness, empowered to rise above the group consciousness. Because as Ernest Holmes says, I was going to say my favorite, but I have lots of favorite quotes of Ernest Holmes. He invited us to remember that one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. You are one alone in consciousness with the infinite, are you not? Then right where you are, you constitute a complete majority, and how you choose to be in the expression of your life does not have to be relegated to the consistent ideas below the level of awareness in that group consciousness. Now, when I was younger, I was immersed in a group consciousness. I think a lot about, well, I don't think a lot about this anymore because I've gone through the stages of self-forgiveness around this, but as a teaching tool, there is an experience that I had in my life when I was younger. Grade 4, grade 5, whatever year that was, 83, 84, I was going to school downtown at Carrillo Intermediate School, and I had my group of friends, and of course, talk about the expression of group thought. We had a lot of friends, and the friends would develop factions, right? We would develop our factions like, oh, well, these are my friends over here, and you get to have your friends over there, but we're not going to mix friends because that's the way kids can be, right? So we are subject to the group thought to the degree that we accept the group thought. Now, when I was younger, part of my group of kids that I was in a group consciousness with thought that our way to be in control of our own lives was to be in a forceful state of being. And in that group over there, there was one boy in my class that I think about. Oh, and we all decided that collectively he was the frustrating one. So we put a lot of blame out there. He was the frustrating one. In retrospect, I can't even recall what it was that frustrated me. But I agreed with the group that he was the problem. And so, because this frustration was shared by friends, compounded with group thought, our action below the level of awareness, though it expressed itself in form, was to bully him. And I think that on some level that what resonated with me is that if I made him feel small, it would make me feel like I was in control of my own life, to feel powerful. In retrospect, and so much of what we learn in life can only be understood in retrospect, what I realize is the actual result is that I bound myself more. I bound myself. I limited my own self in the expression of my life. And I lived the consequences of that inner binding. There was a point at which I went through a process to release the bounds, to step into forgiveness for the ways that I had behaved, which does not excuse the behavior. I want to be really clear. I engaged in the practice of forgiveness, which released the bounds of my own life expression. But I may always have a little bit of guilt around the behavior that I engaged in. That will be with me eternally, perhaps. In releasing the bounds through this practice of forgiveness, I was able to open myself to compassion, unbound love. I had to release my own self-judgment to welcome the liberation of my own mind and my own heart. And that is a path to build resilience. That is a path to build resilience. And so we don't often, we always talk about love only. We always talk about remember who you are, those aspects of our mission statement. We don't, I think, enough talk about forgive everything. Forgive everything. That is a path to freedom. That is a path to resilience in the expression of life. Many of us may be called to this path of forgiveness now. Just check in your own heart. Are you called to this path of forgiveness now? True resilience comes from the softening, not the hardening of the heart. That's true resilience. When we release the bounds of the past, we free ourselves to live fully in the present. But we have to let go. We have to let go. So, if you care to find me, look to the western skies, the song says. I am releasing that which has held me down. I am releasing that which has dragged me down. I am releasing that, and I am defying gravity in my own unique, individualized way. Rumi's wisdom that I started with today is a call to action, to change ourselves, not by forcing behaviors, but by shifting consciousness. Releasing the bounds deepens our compassion. And I think the world needs the expressions of our compassion more so now than ever before. Life is an eternal givingness, the offering of the cosmic self, the infinite self, to the joy of its own fulfillment. We are a part of this joy, and we find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. Everything moves in circles. We short-circuit our own good when we refuse to pass it on. That's Ernest Holmes. Today's a lot of Ernest Holmes. It's just one of those days. Really important for me. We find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. Who will you choose to be today? Today, release the bounds. Be a conduit of divine love. Be a conduit of compassion. Know that your love has a ripple effect. Why? Because. How? Because. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. If you're new to our community, each week I offer something practical to engage in as a home practice. This week's home practice is really less active in the world, but more considering in the world. And so I want you to actively explore answers to these questions this week. And as a reminder, you can take a picture. These also get posted on our website on the video archive page. Actively explore answers to these questions. How am I offering my boundless love to others right now? How am I honoring the infinite divine source by resonating boundless love to that which is beyond my immediate environment? And how am I personally experiencing boundless self-love and allowing it to expand? Please take these considerations to heart this week in your practice. Let them be at the core of your practice this week. And I will look forward to hearing how it all plays out for you if you choose to share that with me. That's the home practice this week.